Here's a story that'll piss you off. This is from The Hill. An Alabama man is accused of shooting 3 people to death after a judge denied his ex-wife's attempts to order him to surrender his weapons, according to the Decatur Daily. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. The news outlet reported on Tuesday that police say Darwin Brazier, 43, of Ardmore, used a semi-automatic SKS rifle with a high-capacity magazine to shoot and kill his ex-wife and 2 other people before killing himself. In addition to killing Debra Ann Rivera, the Limestone County Sheriff's Office said Brazier killed her husband, Radex Rivera, and their roommate, Timothy James Hayward-Boger. The Sheriff's Office told the news outlet that Brazier shot 30 high-powered rounds near the scene before leaving, and later was found by a SWAT unit with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The report notes that Debra Rivera had twice attempted to get a judge to order Brazier to surrender his weapons because of alleged abuse. The requests were rejected both times. So, listen, this is one of those stories where I don't even think it's controversial. I think you would even get the majority of people on the right to agree with you. I think we need to strengthen our laws about weapon confiscation in specific cases. And I was watching Joe Rogan the other day, and he had Ted Nugent on. And they were talking about one of the recent shootings. I forget which one it was. Was it Parkland? Well, whatever. Long story short, one of the dude who did that shooting, he had said repeatedly, like, I am going to do a mass shooting, and I am going to do it at my school. Like, all the signs were there. Really troubled, just every sign you could think of was there. He even apparently got visited once by the FBI or something like that. But they were like, oh, nothing's wrong, and then they left or whatever. But even Ted Nugent was like, why should that guy be able to have a gun? Take his fucking guns. So here you have a guy who, by the way, I don't agree with Ted Nugent on almost anything. But here you have a guy who's like the biggest gun nut. I don't even think he would object to that term. I think he would probably agree. Yeah, I'm a gun nut. So biggest gun nut who's like, yeah, take the guns from that guy. So take the guns from the people who are showing all signs that something's off. That we need to send a signal that, and yes, you have due process in place. So this should all be adjudicated. There should be a process. There should be a system in place to deal with this. But when you have people making statements like, I am going to shoot up the school, and then you visit and go, oh, maybe, well, that's a problem. And so here you have an example. And the sad thing is, this is probably just one of few that actually gets reported on. I'm sure there's other examples where there's all this evidence and they don't even report on it, so we don't even know. But, I mean, we have over 14,000 homicides in the U.S. with guns every year. What percentage of those is from people who were showing every sign that they shouldn't legally be able to have a gun, and then they go and commit the crime? So I think you can get everybody, Democrats and Republicans, to agree. Oh, if somebody, like this guy, they go on to explain, he had threatened her with guns repeatedly. Said, I'm going to murder you and shit like that. And then he did it. So she filed like, hey, maybe you should take his guns. They're like, no. Now, I don't know their reasoning. Maybe they say, oh, there wasn't any evidence of it or whatever. But there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way, because what we need to do is try our best to make sure that people who are law-abiding citizens and will never do anything wrong and they just hunt or whatever, they should have access to weapons. But at the same time, to preserve that, you need to, the flip side of the coin has to be there too, which is try your hardest to make sure the wrong people never get the weapons. And then some people will say, well, look, you can never guarantee that. But here's the deal, man. You can try your best to, the more roadblocks you put in the way, the fewer crazy people will get the guns. It's never going to be perfect. It's never like, oh, we have these laws on the books, so now all mass shootings are gone. No. I mean, if you ban guns, maybe you do that, but I'm not in favor of that. Most people aren't. But the more roadblocks you put in the way, the harder it will be for these crazy people to get guns, and then the less likely it is there will be mass shootings. So it will reflect in the macro statistics. It'll never be perfect. You'll never stop all mass shootings. But you can go from fucking however many gun deaths a year, 14,000 homicides, all the way down to, who knows, maybe you cut it in half. Maybe you could do even better than that by putting roadblocks up. And by taking action in situations like this. Listen, if you can get me and Ted Nugent to agree on something when it comes to guns, that's a sign. And that sign is people on the left, people on the right could all agree that you want to try to keep guns out of the hands of guys like this. And again, maybe in some cases they go to the black market, they get a gun, and they do the crime anyway. But in many of those cases, that won't happen. It will disincentivize them from doing it. So, man, what a heartbreaking story where all the evidence is there, just like with one of those mass shootings. All the evidence is there, and they're still able to get a gun. And it's like, whatever. No, not whatever. You have to try to stop these people from getting guns. That's a common sense position, and it appears to be, across the political spectrum, people agree. But there's no action being taken.